Wow, how wild. Our guests had no idea what hit them. They were honest, trustworthy, innocent, and they all thought, oh no, this could never happen to me.
I never know if someday I'm going to be arrested because this woman has done something.
I got an arrest record this long because of the things that these people did under my name.
You've caused that young man irreparable harm. You have ruined his life.
How do you pull this off?
Actually, it was quite simple.
Don't you feel any remorse?
Well, because he's a liar.
What are you feeling?
I'm a liar.
Wait. Jeff,
you don't know what you're talking about.
Documented proof.
Jeff!
If you did this in my neighborhood, you wouldn't be sitting here, man.
Low-life cretins like you that are just turning the world upside down, and you ought to be locked up and the key thrown away.
Could someone steal your life? Stay with us. It was about 2 years ago when someone used my name and stole, of all things, my frequent flyer miles. Here I thought I was going all around the country and I'm going to be able to take a trip, and I got there and it was zero, and yet this person had made all these trips. And then recently someone stole my daughter, the one that got married last June, stole her credit card and charged the most unbelievable things. So I keep thinking, what is happening to the world that this can happen to you? That's what Mike is thinking. Mike used to have a pretty normal life until his nightmare began about a year ago also. He received an anonymous phone call telling him that there were warrants out for his arrest, that he was wanted by the police. Now, it went downhill from there. Someone had stolen his identity. It was this man, Jeff. And Jeff is going to be out in a minute, and we're going to ask him why he did it. Mike, it sounds insane. I mean, okay, a credit card or maybe your frequent flyer mileage, but your whole life? Mm-hmm. What happened?
Well, I work as a park ranger for the city of St. Paul in Minnesota. And in June of '92, I wrote a ticket to somebody for a dog off leash. I mean, big deal, who cares? But apparently, this man must have been angered or something, and 2 months later, my truck was stolen out of my backyard at my house. And 2 days after that...
Now, when your truck was stolen, you didn't stop and think, who have I given tickets to for the last year or so?
Absolutely
and
not.
Why
no.
would they want my truck?
Absolutely not.
No, I wouldn't make that.
No. So 2 days after my truck was stolen, Jeff Hansen shows up in my bank trying to cash one of my checks, which I had canceled and everything. And he was identified on on the surveillance video as being the person in there. He ran away because he got nervous and he ate the check that he was trying to cash.
He ate it?
He ate the check, yeah, that's what he told me, I guess. So the police never actually charged him with that. They brought him in for questioning and they talked to him about it, but they never actually charged him with the crime.
Now, this is the first time you know that something's wrong.
Well, I figured the guy who stole my truck is trying to cash my checks. I didn't put the names together that these two people were the same person. So I wrote it off. I said, okay, my checks are found. We know who's got it. He probably wouldn't do anything again, and I just went on with life. And then that was all I knew about until February of '93. There was an article in the St. Paul Pioneer Press that showed a picture of a guy on the front page of the Metro section of this paper saying that Mike Tuckner stops car thief. His dog had stopped a car thief. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of funny. This guy's got my same name.
But that's all you thought? He had your
sure,
same
yeah,
name.
sure. I had no reason to think anything else. I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. So again, just wrote it all off. And then finally, in December of '93, I get the anonymous phone call saying that somebody has warrants out for my arrest and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty crazy. So I called a friend of mine who's a police officer who came over and ran my name through the computer. It came out that I had warrants out for my arrest for fleeing police, for reckless driving, and all this whole host of other things. So I was like, wow, that's kind of weird.
Now's the time to think that there's something really up. The check's okay.
Yeah.
The picture in the paper, maybe.
Sure,
the
absolutely.
car, okay.
Absolutely. So she went down to pick up the reports and everything to see what was going on, and she came back, and there was not just this one guy, but two guys that were using my name, a Jeff Hansen and a Jason Stubbs. And the picture of Jeff Hansen it triggered in my mind. I'm like, that's the guy who was in the newspaper as me last year. I go, I'm almost positive. So I went to the library and pulled it up and through microfilm and found out, sure enough, this was the same guy. And then it all kind of started coming really, really fast and heavy. So I tried to figure out what was going on. I had to go down and get fingerprinted to get the warrants killed and do all these other things and explain, no, this isn't me at all. And then shortly after that, I find out that that Jeff Hansen opened a checking account in my name, wrote $10,000 in bad checks in about 6 weeks. And so while all this is going on, I just graduated from college in November. And I've been looking for a job for the last few months, and I've been getting denied for jobs that I thought I had really good shots at, without any explanation of anything. When I left the interview, they said, we want you to work here. And nothing. And then suddenly I find out I got an arrest record this long because of the things that these people did under my name.
Now, somebody steals someone's identity. 2 people have stolen your identity.
Well, as a matter of fact, there was 3.
3 people who stole your identity.
And one of them is a woman.
A woman? A
that-
woman named Mike?
I guess Michael, I guess. Well, what happened is after we found out that all this stuff was going on, I went crazy. I have some law enforcement experience, so I went around. I started investigating the guy. I found out where he lived. I found out where he worked. I went to different places that he had written the checks, and I started showing the mugshot around. And I had a store clerk identify him and his girlfriend as writing one of my checks in their store to buy a dog. And yeah, they bought like thousands of dollars worth of dogs and pet supplies and things like that. And so the person identified him positively. She said, yeah, I know that guy. He works at Pizza Hut. I know where he works. So yeah, I'm positive that's the guy. So then I'm like, okay. So I knew all this. I took stacks of stuff, brought it into the police department and said, here, let's go get him. And the police said, no, there's nothing we can do about it. And
What?
That's what I said. I said, what?
What do you mean there's nothing they can do about it? You did all their homework.
Exactly.
You
And I brought it
got
to
all
him.
the
I said,
evidence.
I said, this looks easy. I said, I got somebody ID'd as him, or that had ID'd this person. I knew who they were and all this stuff. And they said that they couldn't do anything because they didn't know whether it was theft or forgery or all these different things. They didn't know what to do. So after I called 3 different police departments to see if I could get any help, and no luck. So that's when I called the local news station, KARE 11 TV in Minneapolis.
Right.
And I got together with a reporter named Dave Wildermuth, and we went out together to try to put some sense to it. And we found somebody that knew these people, an ex-friend or something like that wanted to help us catch them. So we set up an undercover camera because Jeff was selling a truck. And so we set up an undercover camera in this house to get him in there and talk about this truck, and then eventually talk about writing the checks and all these different things. So we got him in there.
A sting operation.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. So we got him in there, and he started talking. Him and Tina both admitted that they had used my name. They talked about my name and different things in different places that they had written checks. And so we were like, wow, that's kind of neat. And, I thought that would be it. But
After the station put it on, did the police then do anything?
well, we did one more thing first before the police department, or before it actually aired. A week after this hidden camera, we decided to get him on face-to-face. So what they did was set up at the Department of Motor Vehicles. We said, yeah, we'll buy your truck, bring it in, and we will meet you there, and we'll sign over the title. So we had him come in, and we had a camera up on a rooftop, one in an undercover van, and we had him come up, and we said, look, we know that we're not here to buy your truck. We know that you've been impersonating this guy, and you want to meet him. And so we took it from there, and then it aired, and then the police had said afterwards that, yeah, we'll get on it and all that kind of stuff, but still, this is, 3-4 months later. And
They have not done anything.
No.
Your police in Minneapolis.
that's why he's here. He should be in jail. He's on parole and probation for check forgery, too. I can't understand.
It is absolutely amazing. I mean, and do the police give you a reason why they haven't done anything?
I don't know. I've talked to so many police officers. I don't even listen to them anymore.
Really?
I mean, they're trying. There's
Now,
one.
in your life, help us to understand. Number one, you are not getting jobs that you want because you've got a police record, which you don't have.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay. Number two, how much has this cost you?
Well, it's hard to say as far as lost income, if any jobs that I would have had that I
That's true,
haven't gotten.
yeah,
But
right.
as far as hours, I put in 200-300 hours chasing these people around of my own time that I should be spending on a job search to find a job that I can't get anyway. So, it's hard to say.
Your life is just, that's awful. It really is. All right, Mike, with the help of the local TV reporter, you got a chance to briefly meet Jeff. So I'm going to show what that was like.
But we did think you'd like to meet the guy that you've been impersonating for a year. This is Michael Tuckner.
How you doing?
Meet the fake Michael Tuckner.
You ever had an ID made in my name?
Yeah, I've had an ID made in your name.
In my name?
Yeah.
And you opened a checking account in my name?
No.
No. Then why would you have had an ID made in my name? That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, do you have a warrant for arrest? Well, no, I don't. Well, what's your name? Michael Tuckner.
Why would you do that?
I don't want to get arrested.
Wait, you asked him why would you do it, and he said he would do it because he doesn't want to get arrested?
Right, with his own name.
Well, okay, I'll have to ask him what's wrong with his own name. Jeff is here with us today, and he's been listening backstage. Jeff, please come on out. You told him you didn't want to get arrested. That's why you used his name. I don't get that.
I just had warrants for my arrest.
You who you really are, right?
Excuse me?
You who you really are, Jeff,
Yeah.
were wanted by the police.
Yes.
So in order to be arrested, you took his name.
Yeah, that's true, but part of it, what you said, was not true. You say you have no criminal background history? Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Okay, so even though I had a check run on you, you have never had no child molestations or criminal sexual misconducts.
Okay, they warned me he was going to talk about this backstage, and all I got to say is that and $10 will get you a hit of acid. They told me you were going to have this stuff.
Well, wait,
Thank you.
wait.
But I was
Let me-
informed of
They
that.
told me.
Let me ask Jeff something. Jeff, if 3 people are using this man's name,
There's more than that.
more than 3 using it? How many people are using his name?
There's just more than that. I can't really say too much on it.
Oh, boy, I'm sorry,
I gotta
Mike.
say- can I
This
say
is
2
really
things?
bad. But somewhere along, one of them has a record for something that they did. Child
that?
molestation or something. That isn't you, is it?
No, I don't know what the heck. He's making that up completely. I've got a copy of my criminal record right here. And all these things are things that Jason Stubbs had done for fleeing a police officer, for all these other different things. And like, I'm
Then,
going to sit here
Jeff,
and take
where
this.
did you get the idea that there was more to the police record than that?
Because one of the persons that used his identity, I can't say no names, had a background check on him. Because he used his name to get a driving job.
Right.
And they come up with some documentation that he had either a child molestation.
Did you see it?
Yes.
You saw the police record that said that?
The paperwork that the cab company got.
Look, I
the
got to say
paper.
something here. Look, I'm 23 years old. I've got a college degree. I spent 4 years in the Army. I am an honorably discharged Desert Storm veteran. I do everything I possibly can to live my life with the utmost integrity, and I treat others with respect. And to have you come on here and say something like I was convicted of child molestation charges is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
What about the criminal sexual misconduct?
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I got this sticker thing right here.
I don't care what that says.
Look at this. This is
I seen it for myself in
Mike,
black and
look at
white.
that. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Whatever.
Mike, is this the other Mike? Is this the other Mike? Where? Where's the other Mike?
Right there. That's the Iowa.
Where?
Right next to the Iowa.
Okay. Is this the other Mike?
Yes.
Will you stand up? Well, you used his name, did you not?
Oh, I didn't.
Mike, did she use your name?
Yes, I don't know if they have the videotape of it or not, but we have an ID that she got at a check cashing place that said her picture, and it said Michael Tuckner underneath it. And we had a documents expert prove that the signature on her picture ID at the check cashing place matched some of the signatures on the check. And his signature matched some of the
If I
other
can say
signatures on something
something,
too.
her signature didn't match nothing because the signature that they checked out was mine.
There were two main signatures on the check, and the ones that they compared him to were the one off of her picture ID and the one that he signed for the dog
I
bite
think it
complaint
takes a
in my
lot
name.
of guts to take a man's name. I mean, I think that's absolutely amazing. Did you do that?
No, I didn't.
Can you swear that you didn't do that?
Yeah, I can.
Mike, why do you think she did it?
I don't know. She probably couldn't use her name either. I mean, she's probably got a prison record too, and I mean, they probably wanted the money. That's probably their motivation. I can't say why people would do something like this. I have no
Why,
idea.
what do you want to say?
I don't want to say nothing.
Okay, good enough.
Hi. Yeah, my question's for Jeff. How do you pull this off? I mean, how do you pull this off? Could you expound on that? How does a person assume another person's identity?
You already admitted you took his identity. How did you do it?
Actually, it was quite simple.
How did you do it?
Oh boy. There's several ways you can do it.
But how did you do it?
Just applied for it.
How?
Went down and applied for a duplicate.
You went down and applied to whom?
The Department of Motor Vehicles.
And what proof did you show the Department of Motor Vehicles?
None.
None?
0.
Was it the Department of Motor Vehicles for the state of Minnesota?
Yes.
You walk into the Department of Motor Vehicles for the state of Minnesota, you say, I have no license, I have no birth certificate.
You don't say nothing.
You just say, I want a driver's license?
I want a duplicate driver's license.
A duplicate driver's license. They never ask you for any kind of proof at all?
No.
No. I find that extremely difficult to believe.
I work at county jail. I think you're lucky. I interview people all the time that come into county jail, and the ones who are worse off than you are brothers. Often a good brother will be the victim, and the bad brother takes the good brother's identity. This is rather straightforward because you two aren't related at all. When siblings do it, we, the authorities, the establishment, have a much more difficult time.
I would think so, because there's a certain facial look-alike. They do not necessarily look alike.
Thanks a
That's
lot.
correct. And once you're booked into jail, if this lady commits a crime and we book her in and she says she's Sally Jesse Raphael, then she will go through prison as Sally Jesse. And we will not change her name, no matter, we know that you're Sally, and we know that she's Mary Smith.
But you're going to still send her through prison with my name.
That's right.
May I ask why?
Because we have to put her through the way she's booked in before our system. Now, we'll put down an AKA, an alias, but we will send her through as that.
Promise me you won't do this. Promise me. I have enough problems. What do you want to say to Jeff?
I just hope that Greg Kinnear is watching this, because this guy could be a poster child for Talk Soup. I mean, I can't, what can I say to this guy?
If you have something against me, Mike, we can take it outside.
I mean, I let this idiot, I've tolerated the fact this idiot got my name, tarnished it, wrote all these checks in my name, and then I got to...
And you bring up Mr. Army honor roll, so was I. Yes, I was a Desert Storm honorable discharge.
Weren't you in prison during the time the Desert Storm was taking place?
As a matter of fact, no, I wasn't.
Well, I'm in St. Cloud State University. He's in St. Cloud State Penitentiary. I mean, it's that simple.
I don't understand why, if you do you have the documentation on him?
On him for what? For his criminal
for
record or
all
what?
the things that he's done. You have it all documented.
Dave Wildermuth has that, yeah, the report,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you have the documentation on her?
For her criminal record?
Yes.
I don't have
no,
that,
I mean all the things using your name. Do you have
We do
that?
have, on tape, we do have the documents expert comparing the signatures from her Mike Tuckner ID
Right.
to the signature on the Mike Tuckner checks. And he was even arrested by the Woodbury police for something that he did himself, but when the police searched him, they found my driver's license, his picture on him, and my checkbook, and they took it from him, but they didn't charge him with it.
I'm just amazed that he
No, actually, it wasn't your checkbook. Get your story straight, Mike.
Okay, go ahead. Why don't you tell us what happened? What was it?
No, I can't.
If the police
You know what you're
know
talking about.
what he did, why isn't he in jail?
Thank you. Why, Mike? Thank you. What was the reason why that somebody's allowed to do that? Is it the law of the state of Minnesota, or I'm a little confused?
I have absolutely no clue. From what I understand, the problem is that apparently the idiot isn't quite as dumb as he should be, because he used an address that doesn't exist to do all this.
Right.
And they're having somewhat of a difficulty pressing the charges exactly on him.
See, I don't agree that you can walk in and get a driver's license, somebody's driver's license. I think you have to show some proof. So that I'm not
I
buying.
think he had a birth certificate in my name. Those are public information. You can
Okay.
get those anywhere.
I'd like to know if you've ever done this before to anyone else.
I can't really answer that.
Why do you pick on this poor man? He's such a perfect... The man hasn't done anything.
Mike,
Then you
is there
should know.
is there anything on record that he's done this to someone else?
I don't know. He hasn't been charged with it. It's a very difficult crime to charge.
Okay. Coming up, this woman says she needs our help. She wants to find a woman who stole her identity. But next, a man whose best friend of 14 years stole his. Stay with us. Well, I think this is the darndest thing, especially what you said. This lady's got to live correctly now, because we can't have her going to jail as me. What we've been talking about is this idea of innocent lives being destroyed by people who've stolen their identities. Please meet Clint and Carol. Now, you said he's gotten off relatively easy. I don't think so. Wait till you hear about Clint. Clint has been accused of speeding, breaking and entering, selling stolen goods, scalping concert tickets, and 50 crimes. But he says he never committed any of them. What it is, his best friend of 14 years did and used Clint's name. And this is Carol. Her life has been turned upside down since the day she began receiving shopping bills for thousands of dollars. She wasn't the one doing the shopping, and it's really much more complicated than that. Clint, your best friend stole your identity? Is this you and your father and this guy and his dad grew up near each other and spent summers together?
Yep, since probably 1979, 1980. We just grew up together from a campground in Bolton, Mass.
And your best friend for 14 years?
Best and closest friend.
What did he do?
That was in '89. We were going to Florida for 2 weeks. We got a credit card bill in the mail for $1,300, and I had no idea what it was. And I called up the store to find out what it was, and they told me somebody went in there, 6'3", 240 pounds, went in and bought $1,300 worth of stuff and said it was me. I had to go prove who I was, went down there, described my friend to a T. Asked my friend if he did it or not. He told me he didn't do it. He put me down as a credit reference.
He said, there's been a mistake. I just used you as a credit reference.
Right. And so I went back down there, and I showed a wedding video to the lady at the store, and she told me that was him who did it. And he said I didn't do it. I used it as a credit reference. So from then on, in 88, that's when it's been going on. And I've been getting bills in the mail for missing court defaults and warrants of speeding, anything from stolen goods to an undercover police officer. And it just doesn't stop. Right now, he's in jail.
He is?
Yes.
Are you, is he in jail for what he did to you?
No, he's not.
What's he in jail for?
In Massachusetts, there's no such laws about impersonating anybody.
What?
There is not.
In the state of Massachusetts, it is not illegal to impersonate someone.
Not at all.
Is it illegal to commit a crime and then use the other I guess it's illegal to commit the crime anyhow, so using the name,
Like what he would do is he'd get arrested for, say, breaking and entering, or anything from receiving stolen goods to police officer. He'd get mugshot, ID'd, everything as me, but it's him. But then I'd have to go identify who I am, and then I clean my record, then all it is just given to him.
Your record cleaned is given to him.
Exactly.
So if you clean your record, he's got a clean record.
Right.
Okay, how much, are you in financial trouble?
This has probably put me in debt anywhere from at least $6,000 to $8,000, anywhere from just in the last 2 months I was in court at least 20 to 30 times.
As him?
As
you.
myself cleaning my name out.
How has this affected your marriage, your life?
I mean, it's put great strain on my wife. I mean, we go home and it's just another warrant for my arrest, I find out. Just last month, I just found out there was another one in Foxborough for scalping tickets at a football game.
What have you been told to do about this?
There's really nothing I can do. There's
The thing about it, too, is that we roll a stop sign, we're going to jail.
Right,
And especially
exactly.
if you have 50-some warrants out, my God.
Yeah.
You're going to be going, sure, I didn't do it. The cops will be beating you up, sure, I didn't do 50-some of
Every
this.
single police officer told me, I've talked to dozens, no matter what, if I get pulled over for speeding, run stop sign, I'll be arrested. Because once you put my name in the computer, his name pops up in the computer. And the cops can be like, who's who? Let's go back to the precinct and get fingerprinted. So I will be arrested every time for the rest of my life.
So you are always going to be arrested?
Always.
Carol, when did you, yours is a wild story. When did you first realize someone was pretending to be you?
Well, it started in August of '92. I got home from work about 9:30 one night and opened up the mail, and there was an $1,800 bill from Neiman Marcus, and I hadn't used my Neiman Marcus charge card in over a year. So then 2 days later, I received a $2,000 Nordstrom's bill. And I called both stores, and they said that the charges were made in Southern California, and it happened to be on a day that I was working. So I filled out forms, and they closed out my account.
Did you live in Southern California?
No, I lived in Virginia.
So you weren't in Southern California in those stores in those days?
No, I was working the weekend these charges occurred. So they closed my accounts, and they absorbed the loss, which, by the way, we all pay for in higher prices. In December, I went to renew my driver's license, and in Virginia, we have an express DMV where you can handle these matters very quickly. So I went to the express DMV, and the
DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles.
Department of Motor Vehicles, right. And the guy said, I can't renew your license. It's been surrendered to another state. I'm like, wait a minute. I've got it right here. He said, you have to go to full service. So I went to the full service DMV. They pulled up my driving record. Yes, there it was. Surrendered to another state, but they couldn't tell me what it was. Since I had the original in my hand, they just reissued my driver's license. I hadn't connected the two yet. In May, I received a letter from some attorneys in Orange County, California, advising me that they had filed a civil judgment against me in Orange County, California, on behalf of this apartment owner. And I wrote him back and said, whoa, wrong girl. And they wrote back and said, no, Carol J. Anderson, Social Security number 397-406-353. So I wrote them back and said, send me a photocopy of the ID that this person used, and I will then make copies of my ID, notarize it, and send it to you. So in the mail, I opened up this letter from the attorney, and there was a Social Security card with my name, my Social Security number, not my signature, because I used a very distinctive J, and this woman didn't do that. And there was also a copy of a Florida driver's license with all of my data, but not my picture. So then I started writing letters. I called the FBI. The FBI blew me off, told me to go to Social Security Administration. So I had all this documentation, and I went to the Social Security Administration, who made me feel like a criminal, and I ended up having to get a new Social Security card, and I ended up having to take my married name, which I didn't want to write all those letters, and now I had
You know what I would be worried about? That when you get ready to apply for Social Security, the person's gotten there first.
Well, that's the...
You know, it's like my freaking flyer miles. I can't go anywhere because they got them.
And Sally, that's the real danger. Now, let me just tell you guys, the Social Security Administration is set up to aid these people in stealing your Social Security card.
How? How? I mean, why?
How? Okay, it's very easy to get a birth certificate or a marriage license. Now, the thing about this is I don't know who this woman is. I've never seen her in my entire life, so how she got the information on me, I will never know. I was born in Wisconsin. I was married in Wisconsin, married again in Massachusetts, and married again in Vermont. So I don't even know which marriage license she used. But anyhow, all you have to do is take in a certified birth certificate and whatever, go to the Social Security Administration and say, hi, I'm Carol Anderson, and this is my Social Security number. Here's my birth certificate. Here's a marriage license. I lost my Social Security card. They punch in the first 4 initials of your first name, the first 6 letters of your last name, your Social Security number, and if it's a match, they will issue a new card.
Well, now, we wrote, Rainey, do you have that letter from the Florida Department of Motor? Will you get me that?
Same thing with the Florida DMV.
Amazing, amazing letter, because when we heard this, we said, now, wait a minute, this can't be. It's just too complicated that you would be able to get somebody to take. They cancel her driver's license, and they give somebody else her driver's license from another state, meaning that states aren't getting together. So this is a letter from State of Florida Department of Highway Safety. You asked me to write a letter explaining how Jane Doe, name unknown, obtained a Florida driver's license in the name of Carol J. Anderson. When this person came to the Florida driver license office in OCOEE, Okie? Like an Okie Finoki, probably Okie. She presented documents which we accepted as proof of identity. She had a birth certificate, a marriage license, and a Social Security card. All of the documents were either originals or certified copies. We had no way of knowing they were not authentic. Somebody had your marriage license, your Social Security card, and your birth certificate.
And I have no idea how she even got any of the information
Now,
on me.
we don't know where the person is.
No.
She's traveling around the country.
No, the Alexandria police indicated that I was probably not her first victim, nor will I be her last. At this time, she may still be using my identity. She may have taken someone else's identity.
Are you in financial trouble now?
No, I'm not. But I'll tell you, every day when I go to the mailbox, I wonder, what am I going to find? Just like Mike and Clint here, I never know if someday I'm going to be arrested because this woman has done something, and they tie it back to me.
No matter who you call, nobody wants to help you.
Yeah,
The FBI, they tell you to call
They pass you right on. You call the
Yeah.
DMV, they say you call the BCA, the
Call
BCA
the
tells you to
government-
call
our
your
We don't have a
mom and-
department of stolen identities. Okay, let's see if we can get help. Let's see if we can figure this out.
So, you know, I mean, at this point, I'm trying to find this woman, and the Florida DMV was very gracious. They sent Sally a letter, but they would not send us this woman's picture, and they have her picture.
They won't give us the picture.
They won't give you the picture. I have a
It would help.
photocopy.
It would actually help. This woman was falsely arrested for armed robbery. Her imposter is still at large. Next, a woman who says she trusted her friend, even took her into her home when she needed help, and in return had her life stolen. What can we do about this? You know, we thought about investigating this topic. We got some cases that were so extreme, that were so wild. You've got to, I mean, besides a woman taking a man's name, it's even wilder than that, so please stay with us. Our guests today are saying their lives were ruined when strangers, or in one case, best friend, stole their identity. Now, this is Tammy. Tammy's life was turned upside down when someone she considered a good friend stole her money, diamond ring, and if that isn't enough, her identity. What happened?
Well, to begin with, she's not only my friend, but I've raised her son that'll be 13 years old this year since infancy. It began when
So when we say know your friends, a man or woman is known by the company she keeps. You've known her how long?
For going on 13 years.
Gosh, that's long enough.
Yeah, I thought. I didn't really get to know her until this past year when she's stolen my identity, all the things that she's done to me. I invited her in my home because she was pregnant and wanted to terminate a pregnancy. I let her come into the house for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, her mother notified me after she left her clothes and everything. It was fly-by-night because she had stolen from me. Her mother notified me that she had been arrested in Orange County, Florida for shoplifting. That's where it began. I went over there. I was fingerprinted, mugshot, treated like a criminal.
You were?
Mm-hmm. I had to clear my name. I have to carry a paper around stating that
I'm not who I am.
I am who I am. She's not who
Who she is.
After that, she has gotten jobs from different companies. She steals their checks out of the back of their checkbook. She's written $25,000 worth of checks payable to Tammy Tanner.
See, I keep asking, did any of you have a hard time financially? I would think that is a miserable... And it's still going on, right?
Oh, yeah, she hasn't...
They haven't caught her.
I was almost arrested yesterday before I left to come to the show because we had a disturbance at our business. We called the law, and they started questioning me, wanting to know my name. I had to call the detective that's familiar with the case to get them off my back. And in the meantime, my husband explained to him that Tony's been using my name. They had just talked to her 2 blocks away from our business and let her go because she went by Tony Pena.
Whoa. Well, let's see if we can find some help. Carol, you said at the break you wanted to say something?
Oh, yes, I wanted to say something to Jeff, if I may. You know, Jeff, you're very cavalier about this, and you probably think it's a big joke, but you've caused that young man irreparable harm. You have ruined his life. It's low-life cretins like you that are just turning the world upside down, and you ought to be locked up and the key thrown away.
You want to answer her, Jeff?
Go ahead, Jeff. You want to answer. I'd love to hear that. But then when he's done, I want to talk.
Go ahead. What do you want to say?
I was going to say that after we caught him on camera admitting to using all this stuff, you know, I had one question ready, and we figured, okay, he'll run away if the guy has any sense at all. So he sat there and talked to us for 25 minutes saying, yeah, I did this, I did that, and everything. And after this was all over, we were back in the studio, and we were watching the tape of it just laughing. You know, it was like, my God.
How could anybody do that?
But wait, I'm not done. This is the best part. I'm sorry. And then we're in there watching the videotape, and somebody comes in to tell the reporter that I was working with, there's a phone call for you. Mike Tuckner's on the phone. And I'm standing right next to him. And so we both just shook our heads, and we walk out there, and I hear Dave pick up the phone, and he goes, no, we really didn't want to buy your truck. He was still trying to sell us the truck after all that.
What an idiot.
Actually,
I
didn't make the phone call.
Go ahead.
I feel so much hostility coming from him. I don't understand where it's coming from.
From who, Jeff?
Yeah. Why are you so angry at him? Don't you feel any remorse?
Well, because he's a
What
liar.
are you feeling?
I'm a liar.
Wait.
Jeff, you don't know what you're talking about.
Documented proof.
Jeff, fair is fair. You are angry at him, yet you've admitted you've stolen his identity. How does that make any kind of sense?
What crime or charge did I put on your record? None.
Yes, you stole his name.
You just said to me in the break that you impersonated him, you were sorry, you apologized.
Yeah.
It should be over.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be over.
I did apologize.
But he can't
that
get
doesn't make
jobs
nothing.
because of what you did.
He's losing jobs.
What about false
everything because of
application
yours.
for a driver's license? Aren't you going to get stuck
How
on
is
that
that
one
not
yet?
gonna give you a job?
Well, you already ate the check already. I mean, you got
How
all
is
this
that
stuff
not
that you've done with
okay?
my name. My credit rating is completely trashed.
Did you
I apply for finance with
Did
these
you
different
do a
areas. I can't
check?
get that stuff.
What check did you eat? The one that you wrote? Under his name?
My attorney said I can't discuss nothing about that.
Okay. All right. Let's come back and meet Mike, a police detective in New York City for over 25 years. He must have more answers than we're getting here today. Be right back. We want you to meet David Wildermuth with what station?
Care TV.
Now, you're the one that was in those pictures that were videoing Jeff, correct?
Right.
What did he tell you? He says that he never admitted anything, all of this business.
Well, in the confrontation, he told us that he did get an ID in Michael Tuckner's name. When he really did most of his admissions is when we had the house wired with hidden cameras, and he told us that he ran a check running business, check forgery business. One of the frightening things he said was, we were talking about, well, when you call a bank and you want to get something verified, you want to make sure that if you're going to forge a check, that there's money to cover that check in there.
Yeah, it's awful to have to forge a check and there's no money to cover it. My question is, you're a reporter in Minneapolis?
Right.
What's wrong with the police department? Why, and what is this guy doing sitting on my set in New York City?
Well, it's...
I'm serious. I'm serious. I need just an answer to that.
To be fair, there were a lot of checks written in different agencies, and actually Minneapolis is not one of the areas. It's St. Paul. St. Paul police investigated the case. Forgery, as I think Mike Sheen will tell you in a minute, is not a high priority crime.
Not a high. Is there a connection between him and the young lady who are making eye contact?
Between
Mike 2 and Mike 3, a.k.a.
Oh, yeah, it's his girlfriend.
They're girlfriends. Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you. Let's meet. You can just go back to St. Paul and have them explain themselves. Please meet Mike. Mike was a police detective in New York for 25 years, one of my all-time favorite guests. He is now an investigative reporter. Mike, we know that cases like these are common, but these three people have gone FBI, they've gone Social Security, they've done everything. What are they doing wrong, and who do you go to?
Well, it's a terrible thing to say, but the bureaucracy in this country is so ridiculous that it's the squeaky wheel that gets the oil. You really have to scream and yell, and you have to go down in person. And I just want to say one thing to you right now.
Yeah, what do you say to him?
Maybe in Minneapolis,
or St. Paul.
You can slide, Minnesota. But if you did this in my neighborhood, you wouldn't be sitting here, man.
Take a break. We'll be right back. Mike, why is it so easy to steal someone's identity? Is it the computers? Has it made that worse or better?
Believe it or not, the computers have really worsened it, because now these bureaucrats and the people who work for them, like motor vehicles and the Board of Elections, all they know, they don't know human beings anymore. They don't know people. All they know is that screen. They've never gone out of the room. They work in these air-conditioned offices. There's not even a window.
By the way, I said we had a surprise for you. I think you particularly, Mike, are going to love this. I want you to meet Vanessa. Vanessa was falsely arrested for armed robbery. They had her name and everything, correct? What did they do?
My social security number. And what happened was I purchased a car, and then 15 minutes after that, I was on my way to the registry to register the car, and then I was pulled over by a state trooper. And I had a few people in the car with me, and they were taken out. They asked me for my license, and I gave it to them. And then they asked me to step to the back of the car, and they searched my car for drugs or what have you. And they found cigarette ashes, and I told them that it was cigarettes, not anything else. And then they told me I was being arrested for driving after suspension. To my knowledge, my license was never suspended. So then the female officer asked me to put my hands behind my back, and then she put the handcuffs on and said, well, why am I being arrested for if it's supposed to be driving after suspension? So then she told me, we'll tell you when we get in the car. I said, well, can't you tell me now? She said, no. She put the handcuffs on me, took me to the vehicle, and then searched me again, and then put me in the car, and then asked me if I went to, if there were any other drug paraphernalia in the car. And it was cigarettes. I kept telling her over and over it was cigarettes, and there was no problem with that. I was then taken to Springfield, which is another city within Massachusetts, 45 minutes from where I was. And then, they put me in a room for about an hour or so. And I was taken before the captain. And they told me, he told me 1,000 apologies.
Guess what? The person who was her is white.
Yep.
Everything fit perfect, but it was the wrong color.
She was white, 145 pounds. They showed me a picture of her. I never saw her before in my life. Never.
So this is one point Vanessa said, you know, occasionally I'm beginning to like this whole thing. This is really working very well. If she had been white, if Vanessa had been white, where would you be now?
Oh, in jail awaiting trial.
Exactly. What can someone do to protect themselves? We'll find out when we come back. Thanks. Mike just told us there are a lot of states where it is not illegal to impersonate someone. What can we do to protect ourselves against being stolen?
I'll tell you, Sally, there's quite a few simple things that people don't even think about.
Okay.
For instance, there's a tremendous amount of information on pay stubs, okay? I used to save all my pay stubs. Don't ask me why. They looked very official, so I kept them.
Okay.
City of New York, you know. Destroy your pay stubs.
Either destroy them, don't save them. Okay.
That's right. Carry only what you need, especially women. Women have these gigantic bags that they carry. They carry their entire life history.
Our
in the
staff
bag.
has their life history in their pocketbook, okay?
You know, if you leave that or it's stolen, you're finished. Never give out any information to an incoming call. Like, somebody calls up and says, hey, look, I'm doing a survey, blah, blah, blah. So many people get roped into this thing. You should never do that. That's a general rule. If you do lose something, report it immediately. Go to the cops. I mean, there could be a con man working that particular area. The only way the police can help you is by you calling them. So you definitely should report it immediately. Call all your credit cards companies immediately. Stop everything, okay? Call the bank. Be aware of expiration dates on credit cards. Like Amex usually get a thing, a notice saying, in 30 days, you're going to get your American Express card. That's terrific. I always check them, but there's a lot of people who don't.
In other words, if they're going to send you a new card, make sure you get the new card.
Be aware of that it's coming, absolutely.
Okay.
You know, keep it in your mind. Keep a photocopy of all of your credit cards and all of your ID.
How many of you in the audience have a photocopy of all credit cards, driver's license, birth certificates, and 1, 2 people in the entire audience? Boy, you're talking to the right people. Take a break. In the audience, this man was stopped incorrectly during the Patty Hearst time, and this lady, a friend of hers, the babysitter, just was real easy to take somebody's identification. So yes, it can happen to you. Thank all of you for being with us today.